Hi everybody, my name is Melanie Rogers and I'm inviting you all to tune in to my show, Flip the Switch, How to Find the Light in Every Dark Shadow, every Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on clearsourceradio.com and iHeartRadio. Hey everyone, you are now listening to Flip the Switch, How to Find the Light in Every Dark Shadow on the Clear Source Radio Network. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Hello everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in. You're now listening once again to Flip the Switch, How to Find the Light in Every Dark Shadow. It's part of the Clear Source Radio Network, where people inspire people. Also heard on iHeartRadio and Spotify. You can always go back into my own archives, my YouTube channel and such, and catch up on following past shows. So anyway, I'm your host, Melanie Rogers, and for all those people who are tuning in tonight who may be new to the show, thank you. Welcome. I hope that you are having a wonderful week, a wonderful holiday. Okay, for those of you who have listened in over time, you know my perspectives by now. You know my perspectives on a lot of things, very open-minded, looking at things from all different perspectives, trying to keep the positive and the lessons in everything and such. And that's actually why I'm bringing you tonight's show. Okay, it just happens to fall on a Tuesday. My show just happens to fall on Christmas this year. And initially I wasn't going to do a show because I figured, you know what, it's Christmas. Everyone is enjoying their time with their family, their friends, they're doing whatever. About the last thing anybody really wants to hear probably is someone ramble on about perspectives, especially when those perspectives have been coming to me for almost 2 years now based on my own experiences and lessons and emotions and such. But then I thought about it and I said, maybe what people want to hear right now, those people who aren't with family, aren't with friends, who may be on their own right now, maybe they want to listen in and be able to relate to different things and such. So anyway, that's what I chose to do. I chose to, since I didn't make plans this year myself, I'm not depressed. I'm actually in a good place right now, emotionally and such. But I figured, why not spend tonight, at least an hour of tonight, talking to everybody who's listened in to all of my, or some of my shows over the last going on 3 years now. Can you believe that? Why not spend Christmas with you? Talking a little bit about perspectives, but trying to mostly bring the light into the moment, especially for those people out there who aren't celebrating or maybe a little sad or blue, because this time of the year is hard for a lot of people, and I get it. This time of the year, many different years has been difficult on me, as much as I love this time of the year. We all have our stories, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and reiterate mine so that you know where I stand on this. And then, like I said, I'm going to spend an hour talking and also playing some snippets of some Christmas music, because I really would like to get everybody in that Christmas spirit, even people who are feeling lonely and blue, okay? I think that Christmas is an opportunity because of utilizing the energy around us. If anything, even if we have sad moments and we have sad thoughts about Christmas season, whatever our reasons, okay? Christmas, like any other, I don't want to say negative time. See, I talk about this a lot. I talk about how when we go through difficult times, there's always a lesson in it. I believe there's always a lesson in it, and I think that's the most important part of everything, is to learn the lesson, okay? I think that a lot of those lessons are teaching us to make changes. Okay. So with that being said, Christmas time, or the holiday season in general, and I'm going to go back to that in a moment too, but I don't want to get distracted too much. I think for those people who do go through a difficult time, no matter what your story is and why this time of the year might be difficult for you, is an excellent opportunity to figure out a way to make the lessons work for us in the future. Okay. And the opportunity part being that the energy out there right now is chaotic. There's a lot of people, they deal with family and they may be frustrated. Unfortunately, that goes along with it. I hear from people all the time, and when it comes to trying to get family together, and it's just, it can be chaotic. Families can be that way. We know that anyway. So other than that though, the general frame of mind around the holidays is jovial. It's love. Okay, it's being with the people you care about. It is hopefully self-love. It's giving. It's being selfless. Okay, that is the idea, I think, behind a lot of it. So I say utilize your opportunity to make changes, like I always do, if you so choose to do so, of course, and kind of tap into that energy. Let's sit here and tap into that energy. Okay, tap into my energy, if you will. This is why I'm on here tonight. Tap into my energy, because I'm going to tell you right now what my story is. All right? Mine is no more of a boohoo story than anybody else's. In my world, it affects me in a certain way, just like other people experience different things might affect them in a certain way. But also in my world, I'm the type of person who takes every situation, every heavy emotion, and I try to analyze it and figure out the root cause and lift it up and make changes and use it for my highest good, I guess. Okay, so if you've been listening to the show, you know that. And that's why I'm going to tell you this. I'm not going to tell you this. Mine's not a big boohoo story, but I'm not going to tell you this to try to make you sad. I'm not going to try to tell you this to compare, to try to say, well, you should be happy because I blah, blah, blah. It's not at all that way. So basically, I came from a big Italian family. All right, I'm Italian, part Italian at least. And when I was a kid, I had a big family. All right. Now, we had a lot of chaos in our family, like most families do. We didn't stand out in that department one way or another. I was a sensitive kid. I've talked about this as well. As, can't really blame anybody for anything as far as anything like that, because nobody really knew my sensitivity level and what I was absorbing and what I was seeing and everything else. No big deal, okay? That has worked in my advantage as I get older and I'm aware of what was going on. It's made me who I am, and I wouldn't change a thing in that respect. Okay, so it's all good, right? So anyway, when you're somebody like me who always visualized growing up, accomplishing a lot, but ending up in the same kind of scenario, having that big family around. That's what I envisioned. I had siblings that I figured I would be really close to. Our families would grow together. Our kids would grow up together, all this. Now, in my particular family, because of, drama and chaos and situations and stuff, we basically parted ways. A lot of us parted ways. So the big family dynamic, because my favorite times of the year, honestly, were going to my grandma's house, where the whole family would get together and have this big Italian family dinner, or usually celebrated. I think we would usually go to my grandma's house for Christmas Eve, if I remember right. And my mom is an excellent cook, and she cooks. That's how I learned early on to cook for bulk people. So my mom, amazing cook, amazing baker. She would have, if I remember correctly, because I've kind of phased a lot of this out over the years, and it's coming back into my head. Thanksgiving. A lot of times we would have Thanksgiving at our house, and a lot of times we would have Christmas dinner. I believe we went to my grandma's for Christmas Eve, and a lot of times we would have the family come over for Christmas dinner at our house. Not every year. I don't think it was every year, but those are my big memories, okay? And that's what kind of creates, in a lot of us, I'm not going to say everybody because I'm not everybody, but creates the image of what we want in our future. I think it sets a backbone. If you go through things when you're a kid and there's things that you don't like, a lot of times that will create who you become as an adult. Like, I don't want that. Some people may, when they're kids, maybe work on a farm. Okay. Some of those kids, because of working on the farm and being around animals, may grow to love animals, and that creates who they want to be in the future. We're affected a lot as we are kids. We are affected by who we look to ourselves to be in the future. Did I say that right? I don't know that I said that right, but it forms an idea of what we want in our future, what we visualize for ourselves, okay? The farm example could go two ways. Somebody can work on the farm and they absolutely didn't get anything out of it, so they know maybe they aren't close to animals, and it's because of almost a lesson, if you know what I'm saying. So, different scenarios affect people in different ways. Maybe some people might grow up with a big family around and they experience chaos and restrictions, or whatever the scenario is. They may grow up and say, I don't want all that. I don't want the kids. I don't want this big family. I don't want to be held down. I want to go and do because I didn't enjoy that when I was a kid. You see what I'm saying? So we're also individual. We're all completely individual, and different things affect us in different ways. Different things will trigger who we want to be and what we want to surround ourselves with, what we visualize for our future. Me in particular, I visualize that would be my future, that I would end up with a big family and we would continue having this big family. I would be close to my siblings, our kids would grow up together, all this kind of stuff. Well, that didn't happen. Okay, boo-hoo, let's get that over with. Okay, only recently did I realize, really, I've always known that that's affected me to a certain extent. Only recently, in my great attempt to uproot everything that just sat there stagnant, causing me pain during the holidays, causing me pain and issues in different parts of life. So only recently, in an attempt to really uproot that and kind of clear out any blocks and allow that pain to come up and figure out, oh, this is the problem, and let it go. Okay, so it's come up a lot recently, and that's a good thing because I'm able to let it go. Now, let's skip further in the future. With me, here's how I flip the switch. That is something I visualized in my life. Okay, I felt like it was something that kind of was a little bit traumatizing because of the way things happen. Because families, man, the chaos in big families, I watch it now with people I work with, talking about their families and how much damage, my gosh, it can cause so much damage. And you never know how the same situation can be affecting everybody involved. You have a big family and you have maybe some chaos, and each person's going to experience something different. Each person is going to look at it in a different way. So there's nobody responsible unless it's a really bad situation. But in just general family chaos, there's really nobody responsible to everybody who's involved. It's hard to sit there and try to regulate every effect on every person. All right. So anyway, that being said, that was my story. Now, as I've grown older and because of life situations, when it comes to dating, when it comes to anything like that, I have created this kind of barrier around myself. And that was always hard to understand, why I felt like there was a barrier stopping me from living the life I wanted to live. And I would reflect back on, oh yeah, that's right, because you don't have that family around you anymore. The people who were involved aren't in your life, or they don't care, or whatever. Once again, let's not do a boohoo thing, because that's not what I'm going for here. I'm trying to explain my situation so that you understand where I can kind of understand different people feeling a certain way. And I want to try to help you switch it around a little bit. So with all that being said, only recently, the holidays were a little difficult for me. I never like people feeling sorry for me, because then that makes me feel pathetic, honestly. To me, the idea of people feeling sorry for me, like when all these years at work, because I'm a single person, whatever, whenever I did not make the attempt to go home and spend the holidays with my family, whether it was whatever the reasons being, and those reasons vary over the years. The idea of anybody feeling sorry for me made me feel worse, because it's almost like people looking down on my life, like my life's not as good as theirs, or I'm not as accomplished in life. And that's almost offensive, even though it's not meant to be by other people, but that's how I received it. Like, don't feel sorry for me. I make my own choices and such. But only until recently did I realize that line in itself, I make my own choices, and how much that right there is actually what has affected me in my personal life story. Okay. And that being, and I was recently talking to my dad about this. So it, like I said, things open up your eyes. One of the things behind tonight's show that I wanted to bring out isn't just to coddle people out there right now who are feeling bad. In some cases, people like to hold on to that pain. People like to hold on to, because I did. I'm saying that from experience. I would hold on to it almost like a security blanket. I would hold on to the blame game, okay? Almost like, well, my life is changed forever because of. All right. And there were times where, without really even coming out and saying it, I did the blame game and said, well, my life is like this because, and I don't have the family dynamic because my family got split up, when I was a kid. So that's the reason I can't live the life that I want to live. Okay. Now, listen to this, because I want everybody to pay attention to this. If there's any area of life where you are in pain and you are able to take any kind of responsibility in that, it is the most freeing thing you'll ever do. If you can look at it from a way of, instead of blaming other people or looking at different parts of your situation as imminent, and realize, I did this to myself, or I take responsibility for this. If I want to change, make a change. That is it right there, bingo. Because what I realized, and this is what I was telling my dad, because there's different things that I talk about on here, and my dad and I will talk, and he receives them in a certain way. So what's great is that we really start talking about things, and he'll open up enough to ask me questions, and if and such, and I'll explain it. And this is what I was telling him as well, is no matter what the situation was or wasn't, being that people in life take things differently. You can have a family situation, and that was my example, the family situation. This goes everywhere. It's not just that, okay? Over a lifetime, there are so many different scenarios where this applies. Everyone's going to look at that situation differently. And a lot of times people don't realize how things affect different people, okay? So what does that do? That means that that's just life right there, okay? As soon as you are able to understand how something got created that's causing pain in your life, to try to figure and understand that not everyone is aware of that in the first place, or maybe there are so many different perspectives on a situation that you just happen to take it a certain way and hold on to it for the rest of your life. And that's basically what I did. And I realized that. So being able to take responsibility for that is amazing for me. Okay, if you can relate to this, think about it. It will help you in the future, I'm telling you. When I realized, and this is what I was telling my dad when he was actually even apologizing, trying to figure out, I could have done better. And that's what he was saying. God love him. He was saying, I know that, I could have done better. I could have, been around more, and because he was a workaholic. He had many jobs, all full-time jobs, but God love him. But it made me realize, when we were talking about that, I'm like, no, my dad wasn't doing anything. Nobody was doing anything on purpose. I was taking things a certain way. No one was aware of that, and that's okay, because the pain that I experienced later on in life over many years, and this idea that I'm going to be alone at Christmas every year because I don't have that big family anymore. That's what I told my dad. I said, you're not responsible. I said, maybe I took things a certain way when I was a kid. It might have affected me, but it's my responsibility to live the life I've envisioned. And after all these years, did I marry? Did I have children? Did I create the family that I always pictured myself having? No. Is that anybody else's responsibility? I'm not going to say fault, because every turn in life, I feel, is perfect in the moment if we make conscious decisions. Okay. And my whole life, I've made these conscious decisions, and I've been okay with it. I've been this independent woman, strong woman, successful woman. That was important to me. Okay. Only recently did my life requirements change. So I'm not going to throw away years of a life that I actually was proud of, because my desires have changed back to wanting and desiring that family around me. Okay? Wishing I would have had kids and all that. Okay? Don't want to feel regret. Every decision we make at every moment, that's a conscious decision, all right, is right in that moment. And I think that's important for people to realize, because this is the first time in my life, and not right now, but maybe pretty recently, where I was second guessing a lot of that. Basically second guessing my whole life once I took responsibility for my part in it. Okay, so you're going to go through all these things. If you look back on your life and you say, why am I here right now, especially during the holiday season? This is why I'm talking about during the holiday season. It will uproot a lot of emotions. Okay, it's important once you take that responsibility and you start looking at it like, okay, these were my decisions. This wasn't anybody else's responsibility to create the life over time that I want. I didn't do that. I didn't take those steps to create that life that I want now, that I envisioned since I was young, because of that mental block of I don't have it anymore, but I didn't create a different life that mirrored what I wanted. Okay? Eureka. Now, if you can do that, and if you can look back on the things that are holding you down, making you feel bad every year, making you feel like you're alone, and take responsibility for that and understand that you're the one as you grew older and wiser and such, that maybe you didn't take those steps. It took me a long time to actually realize that that was the problem. The problem was that I didn't take the steps. I held on to all of this toxic blanket saying, well, from the very beginning, your dreams of having this big family thing were stifled. No! What, was I going to have this family thing from, childhood or whatever? Sure. If I look back now, would it have been great if, the big family dynamic that I had when I was a kid, over time you lose people and such as you get older and such, but, still have people around like that? Yes, of course, because, that's just, your family kind of thing. But to continue past that and still have that drive to develop the family or develop the life that you want to develop, once you become an adult, it's your responsibility to do that for yourself. And I neglected to do that. So now, this isn't a boohoo thing. This is a lesson thing. This is a great opportunity. It's too late for me, obviously, for, the big family, the kids and all this kind of stuff. But there's ways around that. I already had a show about that that included some of that, talking about where you might have voids. I'm trying to remember the name of the show. Filling your voids, basically. And how, you could possibly fill your voids via different means. Like what exactly the feeling you're trying to create with this situation. Okay, mine would be family feelings. So what could some things be? What could I do at this point? Could be, I don't know, actually meet somebody who has a family would be probably the best for me, or the easiest for me. Short of, as far as the parenting thing, go and become a big sister, big brother kind of thing, or go and be around friends and family who have kids, or all of those are good ways to fill those voids. Okay. Now, I just told you my story to make a point, basically. I have compassion for everybody because I've seen it from both sides. I've seen the side where you feel sad, you feel depressed, you just feel like life somehow gave you the lemons instead of what you truly desire. I felt it, okay, and it affected me, and it does affect me, or has affected me in the holidays. This year, honestly, it really didn't affect me, and it's because very recently is when I was able to uproot and understand that, my part in everything. And when you have things uproot, which is what I'm constantly talking about on here, how important it is to figure out what those areas of life are, those triggers and the things inside that are hurting, what's caused the damage and such. Let it come up. Take responsibility for as much of it as you possibly can. Because when we take responsibility, here's why I keep saying that. It doesn't make you the bad guy or anything like that. When it comes to trying to heal, the term bad guy doesn't exist anymore. Okay, it's not about trying to punish somebody or get even or anything like that. It's about trying to figure out who may have the power to change a situation. And if you can take that power, let's look at it that way. If you can take responsibility for as much of it as you can, that gives you back the power to change it. If you have somebody do something to you that causes you permanent damage, they have that power. Say they are able to change something. Trying to think of an example. That would be a rare example, I believe. Then yes, you might be powerless, and unless they make those changes in life, maybe it will affect you forever. What I'm saying is, the more things in your life, i.e. me, and I've talked to myself, you know this, what I'm saying to you is things I've said to myself, I'm talking to myself. You may choose to look at it, in your own life or not, or just keep an open mind and such, maybe even to understand other people. But the more you can take responsibility for isn't taking blame. That's different. I'm not even talking about that. I'm not saying you constantly have to figure out who to blame for different parts of life that might be painful. Getting into situations or a life that might not be what you want it to be. It's not taking the blame, it's taking the responsibility. And once again, when you take responsibility, that puts it back in your control. I'm responsible for this. Therefore, it is my responsibility and in my control to make changes. See what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to put out there. And that's why I just told you my brief little thing there, is that understanding that you can put blame. And the thing is, I know people, there are people I'm close to. There are people in my family who I'm not close to anymore and such, who I've watched do the opposite. They will hold on to and play the blame game forever. And when anything in life doesn't go exactly their way, will always fall back on, I'm this way because of. Well, if you are aware, if you are a certain way and you look at that as a negative trait, and you are aware of that negative trait, and if you are aware of what caused that negative trait, then you have the power to change it. If you continue to blame, instead of taking that power and changing it, that's weakness. Be empowered, take that control and change it, okay? I have compassion for everybody on here right now who might be listening to the show because, they're not indulging in, family activities and such. So I hope that nobody takes it as, I didn't really want to come on here and do this big lesson kind of thing, but honestly, sitting here with you by myself, and this year, I'm not sad about that. This year, I feel completely empowered. I feel like it is in my control what I so choose to do. And because I'm in a good frame of mind, because I feel like I've released a lot of stuff that I have suppressed or that was suppressed within me without me even knowing what it was in different parts of life. And that's this whole year, that actually the last year and a half or so that I've been working on that. This has been my choice. So I'm sitting here by choice. I have love in my heart. I have let go of grudges. I have let go of holding other people responsible for any part of my life that I may not be happy or may have been struggling with over time. And now that I'm able to do that, and a lot of this is a New Year's thing, so this might be continued with next week's show, because I really want to empower and get ready for next week's show, preparing everyone for the new year, like I am, because in my heart I feel like I am lifted and ready for a new year, and ready to take back that control of my life, not being in control of everything, not control freak, but having the power once again to get my life where I want it to be. Okay? Now, in going through these difficult times, I think a lot of people have this year. Whenever of course, you've heard this 1,000 times, listen to or read, because Elizabeth Prue now does her daily forecast. She actually does an audio version as well. I tend to like to read it, though, for whatever reason. But, I always plug Elizabeth Prue just because I believe in her newsletter so much. But, when I read her newsletter and when I watch people on Facebook or hear them in person and such, You know it's been a difficult, lesson-filled year for the masses. Okay, so when I talk to you like this, I talk to you collectively, like we're all going through this. I'll give you my example in case you don't understand that we're all going through this, or a lot of people are, so that maybe you can say, okay, I see where she's going with this. I've experienced this, or I'm looking at things like this over here. Understand that it is a collective thing overall, this energy of this year and such. And I think this was a very important year. It's a year that a lot of people are going to want to say goodbye to, which is why I'm going to reiterate my New Year's version of, Happy New Year. I'm telling you once again, Happy New Year 2018. You know why, if you've listened to the show over a period of time, you know why I'm saying that. Happy New Year 2018. We have 1 week left. 1 week to reflect upon the positive, to pay attention to our perceived negatives over this year, the things that have been the hardest, the things that have felt like death or has been death. A lot of people have lost people and such. There's a lot of people who will want this year to go by. And if we collectively and individually don't pay attention to why do we look at this year as negative, heavy, the heavy energy. There's been a lot of heavy energy. There's been a lot of deep reflection overall, collectively and such, and a lot of just hard times this year. That is full of lessons, not just on my part. I've seen so much of it. If you leave this year, this last week, and you don't concentrate on all the lessons that you should have learned through this year, preparing you for a wonderful 2019, you just wasted all of it. You just threw away a whole year, and you're looking at it like a year that you don't want to remember. But you threw away a whole year's worth of lessons. That's like going to college, spending the time and the money to go through the classes, and then data dumping everything you learned, so that if you go into that job that might, you might need that information and you don't know any of it. Where's that really going to get you? Ooh, I like that one. Keep that in mind. Let's look at life as a college course, just a lifelong college course. How much each year, it's hard. I've never gone to college, but, going into the military, when we're in our A school, we had high pressure. It's air traffic control, A school, 4 months of training, okay? You are learning it at rapid pace when you really don't know what it even means, so that you can go and actually step into a very, very high responsible job, okay? That's pressure. I know that college can be that way as well, okay? So let's look at it that way. Let's look at, this whole year as, or our whole lives as stepping into, college, or something that's leading us to be able to do what we're supposed to do. Life college. We're learning. Oh my goodness. I like this. I'm going to hold on to this one. Life college. This is our life college. From the time we left high school, or actually from the beginning of time, we've been in life college. We are learning year to year the hard. We're studying hard. We're failing tests. We're passing tests. You pass a test once you finally understand the information. Is that right? Once you pass a test, and you pass so many tests, then you pass that course. Then you excel and you move to the next level. If you're in a job, the same thing. In the military, okay? Over time, you start taking rating exams. Once you finally understand your career enough in different parts of life, different parts of your career, that you pass it, guess what? You move up a step. You're higher ranking now. You have more responsibility now. That's life. You have more responsibility once you go to the next step. But you are more wise. You're more mature. You are more experienced. Okay? It can be an exciting thing. All right? Look at every year that way. That's what I'm doing. This has been a very, very, very heavy year. And now we're sitting here over the holidays, and a lot of people may have taken the weight of the year, the weight of a lifetime, and not paid attention to the lessons that they're supposed to learn, continuing to fail that course by putting the responsibility on somebody else, or taking that responsibility out of your hands. If you're supposed to study for a class and you keep thinking, I can't do this, this isn't oh my gosh, the teacher gave me too hard of a course. It's the teacher's fault I'm failing. There's too much noise in the room. There's too many parties to go to. I'm too I can't stay home and study, whatever the excuses are, okay? And keep putting all of that responsibility on everybody else, and you just keep failing the test and you're not learning the information, then that's going to be a wasted life, okay? Once you learn that information, once you take responsibility for that moment, you put the responsibility back on yourself to learn life lessons. You learn those life lessons, then you take control over your life. You excel in life over a lifetime. You end up who you're supposed to be with the life you're supposed to have. Okay, that's how I look at it. So yeah, I like that. I'm going to start looking at life as a big, huge college course, getting me to my higher self, which I personally consider God. Now, let me take you back for anyone who's new to the show, because I've explained this before. This is in my eyes. This is my belief, okay? This is how I visualize it. I'm not a religious person. I don't know much about religion. I consider myself Christian because I believe in God. But my personal visualization of God, with my limited knowledge of religion, I'm spiritual. I go by what I feel inside. I go by what I see in my third eye, all this kind of stuff. My vision of God could be the universe itself is God. Our whole universe, we're all connected. Stars, planets, the earth, all of our souls are connected. It could also be our higher self, which I picture always like on the top of a mountain, or I say this a lot, on the top of a ladder. Okay, like that's my highest self. That's the person I'm supposed to be. That person up there is full of the wisdom, the maturity, the experiences, the life lessons and such, has finally conquered all of those things, finally learned all of those things to the point where that's who I am. And I look going, okay, keep guiding me so that I can learn these lessons and I can get closer to you. My higher self, which is a mirror image of myself, that is also God, which is all of us, okay? I look at it that way as well. Higher self, universe, or God, I think could be collectively everything. All of those things, but that's just how I look at it. So anyway, now I'm going to go really back really quickly. I meant to mention this, the whole PC thing about holidays, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. That's why I started off and I told you happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Look at it this year, or look at it this way. In a world and a time where everybody is offended by everything, a lot of that is chaotic. A lot of that is actual attempts to segregate, separate, and cause hate and discontent. I can go further into it and tell you that I do believe the devil himself is behind a lot of the energy, the chaotic energy, but I'm going really deep into that. That's my belief. I believe that people fall into it, that negative space, and that therefore constantly are trying to put more negativity out there. Now, that's not to say that everything that everyone's offended by right now is a load, okay? Is that has no reason behind it. I understand. I am well-rounded. I understand. I've had a lot of experiences. There are a lot of areas of life people make fun of, or they joke, or they gaff off, or whatever, that are serious. I get it. But right now, we're in such a chaotic state of mind where everything, we pick apart every little thing that's said and done. We don't pay attention to intentions anymore. When I say we, I'm talking in general what I see. I'm not saying everybody, I'm not saying myself, I'm just saying in general what I see. It seems to be overpowering, where the idea of anything and everything is picked apart to where everything can be offensive, okay? And I always fall back on intentions. If somebody comes up to me, now I consider myself a Christian, so you can tell me Merry Christmas, for me personally, but I'm also a spiritual person and I'm not super religious. Couldn't tell you a whole lot about religion, but that's just me, because I go by what's in my heart and what feels right, what makes me want to be a better person, what I visualize and such, which is, my right to do, okay? Somebody comes up to me and says, Happy Holidays. Am I going to turn around, me personally, and be offended that they didn't tell me Merry Christmas? No. I had a person come up and wish me the best. They wished happiness upon me. They want me to have a good holiday, whatever I decide that holiday is. Okay. Now, say I wasn't Christian, and somebody come up and said Merry Christmas because maybe they are Christian. Am I going to be offended by that? Me personally, no. Because once again, if somebody, their intention is to add light to my day, to wish the best for me. Okay, when we're to the point where everyone is so touchy about everything that they're making everybody anybody can say anything anymore or do anything, and people don't pay attention to the intentions behind it. They just want to pick apart every little thing. That is where I look at the devil himself trying to slide in there and segregate and separate everybody. That's my personal opinion. You do not have to agree with it. You do not have to agree with anything on this show, but you're listening to the show for a reason. Just keep an open mind, okay? What I'm saying is, yes, I said Merry Christmas for those who celebrate Christmas. I said Happy Holidays for those who are offended by Merry Christmas or who choose to celebrate whatever other holidays. I'm saying it for people who don't believe in anything. Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever. I'm telling you to, I hope right now, because the energy out there, the love is flowing because of this time of the year. That's why I also said for anyone who's going through a hard time during the season, during the holiday seasons, tap into the good energy out there. Tap into the flow of love, that feeling of giving. The family orientation, even if you are without your family, try to tap into that feeling. If you go on Facebook, you've got two choices. And I've done both, okay? In the past many years, I've gone on Facebook because it's social media. When we're sitting here and everybody else is with their family and friends and we're sitting alone, whatever, that's a way to kind of be a part of their life or kind of be a part of the Christmas experience, in my experience, okay? Now, I've gone on Facebook before. That's my venue that I choose to, that's the one I use the most. That's the one where I really communicate best. I've gone on there, and in the past, I've ended up in tears. I watch people with their families. I watch, all this, and I sit here, and even though I tell people, do not feel sorry for me, I start kind of feeling sorry for myself. And then I feel guilty for feeling sorry for myself because I say, you've made choices. Why are you sitting here by yourself? You made that choice. You have family. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. So I've gone through all of those emotions. But there are times where I've also gone on there during these periods of times, and I see everyone enjoying themselves and their families, and everyone's wishing Merry Christmas to everyone, Happy Holidays, whatever. It is nothing but I enjoy watching people with their families. I sit here and I visualize me being a part of it, whether it's their family or just being, with my own family, or just the feeling that comes with it, because I can reflect back in time to that feeling, okay? You have a choice in just about everything you do. Right now, for anyone who's listening to me and you're going through a hard time, I understand everyone's going through a hard time for their own reasons, different reasons. Sometimes people lost the loves of their lives or truly lost their whole families and such, and I get it. It's hard to look at that in a positive perspective, but I think it's important to continue to try. I think it's important to make this time of the year, especially if you have a hard time with it, try to visualize the happiness and tap into that good energy. Like I said, go on social media, go on Facebook, see some of your friends or some of the people you've connected with, even if it's just online. Look at their family pictures. Don't compare. We always say don't compare our lives to other people, and that's the hardest thing in the world, because when I start comparing in different areas, I pull myself right back down. So instead of comparing, sit there as if that person you're looking at is your son, your daughter, or somebody who you love so much, and a smile on their face means the most to you in your world, okay? Do that, even if it's somebody you don't know, worth Adam, and you see them sitting there with their family with smiles on their faces or having fun, enjoying it. For a moment in time, pay attention to that and don't reflect it on how you're feeling. Allow yourself to tap into that energy and feel good. Feel like you're there with them, okay? It's flipping the switch. It's looking at things from a different perspective. It's taking hard times that people are going through, and it's turning it around to tap into the good energy and make it a better time of the year, okay? If you have loved ones that you've lost, and you know what? I started doing this. Instead of feeling guilty, even people I've lost when I was, a kid, parts of the family who may have done things, or who may have, we separated because, I needed to be away from them. We were just, wasn't, the family didn't get along basically. But people who have not been a part of my life, when I released the guilt of looking back and feeling happy, remembering the times I was, had those moments, and started paying attention to those moments in good memories, that changed everything. It was a different perspective. If I go back and I think of, okay, when I was a kid, what were my happiest times? I remember being at grandma's house with my cousin, my one cousin. I loved when we always got together. Those are my happy times, okay? Or when everybody came over to our house, whatever. They put a smile on my face. If I let go of any of the guilt part associated with it, like because there was turmoil and you shouldn't feel that way, let that go as well. And that was a big thing with me. Let go of. And okay, here's another example. I'm gonna throw this in there as well. Like exes, ex-boyfriends, ex-husbands, ex-wives, and ex-girlfriends, whatever. Do you think of the past with them, and maybe they ended up being the harshest person in the world, like ugliness, okay? So you tend to reflect on them and your time with them as a waste, your time with them as negative, okay? Here's a way to spin that. And this is with everything, and that's why I'm throwing this in. I'm going to give you an example. My example is the best date I've ever been on, okay? Actually was on Match.com, believe it or not. It was many years ago. It was like 10 years ago. And I met up with this guy, and for whatever reason, we just right off the bat, there was an attraction, there was a comfort level. I enjoyed his smile, like I actually enjoyed my time with him. We met up. He took me to this just hole-in-the-wall jazz place, a place where they were in there, singing jazz and a great band. And then we ended up down in Atlanta. It was Christmas. I met him Christmas night. I was on my way to the movies, which is like a tradition for me, by myself. No big deal. I created my own tradition, okay, based on my circumstances, to make it a positive thing and not punish myself for being single. I chose to do that. And which after the show, I need to look up. I need to look up movies. I'm being distracted for a moment, but I need to look up movies and see what's out there and continue my own personal tradition. But so we ended up on Christmas downtown Atlanta in the middle of what is it called? Piedmont Park. Okay, beautiful. It is. There's snow around us. It had snowed, and they have the full thing is decorated. They have music playing. Nobody is around. It is unbelievably beautiful. He and I end up going over by the skate rink, and we went in the middle of that park where nobody was, but the music was playing, and he danced with me. It was like a night in a fairy tale. It was honestly a night in a fairy tale. It was like the best date I've ever had. Now, over a very short period of time, this guy ended up being a dirtbag. I mean, I think he was married. To tell you the truth, I think he was married. I know he lied to me about a lot of things. He was pressuring me like really quickly, trying to sleep with me, and I never let it happen. And I was like, okay, really quickly, he wore thin on me because I was like, what is this guy's deal? He filled me with a bunch of lies. I know that, a bunch of lies trying to pull me in. And he ended up a disaster. So the best thing happened when he just disappeared, okay? Because then I found out things after, and I'm like, oh my God, thank goodness I never gave in to him. Thank goodness, I didn't start falling for him or doing anything else. Now, when we're sitting around talking about best and worst dates, how do you think I describe that? Do you think I'd start, getting negative and talking about, oh my gosh, this one dirtbag and if we're talking about bad scenarios we've been in or guys we've dated who have been very deceitful or anything, then yes, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw that one in the mix because it was that bad. But when we start talking about magical dates, I bring that one up. I'm like, that was the best date I've ever been on. Because I'm taking it back to the moment of happiness. I'm taking it back to the moment that made such a good impression on me, that felt good. I'm taking it back to a moment in time where I felt amazing. Try to do that with Christmas. I'm going to reflect back on, even without the big family thing, I'm going to reflect back on when I was a kid and we'd get up, and God love my dad, I was a sleeper. I would try to sleep in. My dad was the little kid. My dad would come right in there going, hey, Mel, Shell, because that was my sister. He's like, Santa's been here. It didn't matter how old we became. We can be, like 15 and 17 years old, and my dad would still come in there and say, Santa was here. Let's go open presents. And I was always like, can we just sleep in a little bit? So, and we'd go down and we'd open presents. And it was like almost the same thing every year, whether we did it. Sometimes my mom always wanted to open them on Christmas Eve night before we went to bed so that we can clean up the mess. My dad always wanted to open them first thing on Christmas. I tended to want to open them Christmas morning. You know, you wake up, you get all happy, you go down there and you open them, but it didn't really matter to me. So those are the memories that I think of that put a smile on my face. Those are my memories of Christmas that I hold on to. Now, do I want to sit here and I want to hold on to the sad parts of memories, the fact that, okay, that's not the same anymore? We could all do that. As we grow older, as we learn that Santa Claus doesn't exist, as we stop being those little kids that run to the Christmas tree thinking that Santa Claus gave us everything we wanted, opening presents, all excited, like, what is this? You know, blah, blah, blah. You know, we would all be depressed, wouldn't we? Because things are different when we're adults. Or that's perspective as well. It all depends. If you grow and continue to focus on the positive and the happy, then as you become an adult and you become responsible or make yourself responsible to put those smiles on other people's faces, that feeling of giving, going and buying the perfect present, surprising someone who's not expecting it, those kind of things. So if you are that type of person who will continue to look at things in a positive way and still try to take out of the Christmas season what it's meant for, I believe it's meant for happiness. As far as the overall, I know that the reason for Christmas, the actual definition of Christmas, is different. But what we're supposed to focus on, or what I feel like we're supposed to focus on, is family and love and giving and compassion, understanding, you know, people who are going through a difficult time, trying to make life better, trying to focus on the good. You know, when we're in a world that is full of chaos and negativity, like being offended, if I give you a greeting, if I say happy holidays, and instead of hearing that I want you to have a great day, you're hearing, oh my gosh, she's got to be PC correct because it's a thing against Christians, whatever. It's like intentions, people. Focus on the intentions, but I'm getting distracted. Okay, so do you understand what I'm talking about when I say that? When I say it all depends on how you look at things. If you're sitting here right now and you're listening to me because you may be alone at Christmas, and you're listening to an inspirational show on an inspirational network, then I think it's important to pay attention to that perspective, because honestly, that perspective has changed my life. Take responsibility for as much as you possibly can. Take control over future situations by taking that responsibility, and focus on the good times. Remember the good times, even if they ended up being the worst. If you had a husband who beat you, now this is going to get deep, yes, but say you had somebody who really hurt you, and instead of holding on to that pain, you want to focus on, and you feel guilty remembering the good times. Remember the good times. Go back into that moment in time where you were made to feel a certain way. I'm not saying go back to that person. I'm saying you have memories for a reason, and we don't always have to allow the negative outcomes to overshadow the positive parts. Okay? I no longer feel guilty, even in the worst case scenario, the worst situations, whatever. I no longer feel guilty when I reflect back on the good times, the good moments with different people. No, because those are my memories. Those are my experiences. If I was that person who only paid attention to the pain, only paid attention to the lifelong lessons in a negative way, without changing it around, flipping the switch, then I would end up being terminally unhappy. And guess what? That would be my own fault. It's not anybody else's fault. You're your own responsibility. Okay? Think of what might make you happy. Pay attention to that. Focus on that throughout the year, and next year do it. If you feel alone right now, you feel like you don't have anybody in your life, you don't feel like you don't have family or friends or a place to go, then focus on that for next year. Say next year, right now, say it. Decide for yourself. What do you want next year at this time? How do you want to feel? What scenario do you want? Make friends. Pay attention to what events are going on. There's lots of events going on right now where you can go and meet people. You can go and be around people or you know, whatever. Maybe you have somebody in your life that you want to be around. Next year, I plan on making plans with my family. Okay? This year, I would have done that, but I told you the reasons why I didn't, and I'm okay with that this year, because this year I needed to focus on me in the moment, okay, and clarify everything within myself so that I can start my year off ready to go in the direction that I'm meant to be, Okay, so those are my suggestions, and I hope that everyone right now, if you're sitting there and you are having a bad, or you feel emotional, allow your emotions to flow through you, because we don't suppress those emotions anyway. I'm not saying to try to act like everything's good if it's not. Okay, I'm not saying to ever suppress your emotions. I'm saying that there are ways to look at things in a different way. Therefore, it's more of a goal than to sit there and stagnate in those painful emotions. Understand your emotions and what created them. What can you do to change the situation? Therefore, those emotions will go through you. You can let them go over time. Think of the memories. Try to hold on to the positive part and create your future. Create the future that you want based on all those lessons of the past. And these are all lessons. Okay. Now, if you're sitting here tonight and you're just like, you're happy-go-lucky, you're just like me, you're feeling just fine about being the holidays, you've got love in your heart, you wish the best for everybody, you just, for whatever reason, ended up being, alone for the holidays, or maybe you're not alone. Maybe you're all just sitting here listening to me for whatever reason. I appreciate that. Okay. I'm going to picture a big room full of people doing that, and you just made my night. Okay. So, if you're doing that, then I hope that you feel my positivity, you feel my happiness brewing, and you feel how am I trying to say this? You can picture what's forming in my head, preparing for a fantastic 2019 based on everything that's gone on this year. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to play a few songs toward the end here. They're just snippets of holiday songs to keep you in the spirit. So I'm going to go ahead and end it now. I hope that you all have a wonderful night. I believe Tiffany may be coming on tonight. I meant to look that up just to make sure, but if so, stay tuned for Tiffany Lewis coming on next with Be the Change. Always positive, always beautiful. Merry Christmas, Tiffany. I hope you're having a wonderful night yourself. And I will talk to you next Tuesday for a inspirational packed, hopefully it'll be an inspirational packed show, getting ready for a fantastic 2019, because that's what I plan on doing. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful holiday. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, happy holidays, whatever you choose to believe in. Good night, everybody. Love you.